So, Kevin, very similar to the predictions that we had for the Eastern Conference, I'll ask you the same question. Who is your favorite out of the Western Conference and why?
So I'm looking at the roster, or excuse me, the standings, and I'm just like, well, obviously, the Lakers are the first team that comes to mind because I feel like they reloaded in their own way. Obviously, the acquisition of Russell Westbrook and a couple of other key veteran players could bode well for the success of this team in terms of a rotational situation where the only players that are going to get consistent minutes are probably going to be LeBron James, Russell Westbrook, and Anthony Davis. Every other position you can rotate. They have a lot of depth at the center position, like they did when they won the championship. They have some good bench role players to play at the 2 and the 3 position as well. So it is just a matter of who's going to be consistent for them outside of the big three that is the Lakers. Denver obviously is going to get Jamal Murray back at some point during the season, so that is one team to keep an eye on. The Clippers are going to be without Kawhi Leonard for the majority of the year as well, so I'm not really paying attention to them. Utah had the best record in the league last year, but I don't ever listen to that. Like, that's not really a big indicator to be the best team to me. Obviously, Phoenix is pretty much the same team. They're debating on whether or not to give Ayton the extension. They just gave Mikal Bridges his extension, so that looks good on their part. Obviously, Chris Paul got his. And then I'm looking at Golden State and Dallas. Obviously, Golden State, right off the bat, you think of Klay Thompson's back. Huge. Absolutely huge. They're going to get James Wiseman back. Steph Curry just showed last year that he didn't need any help, and he was still willing to fucking go out there and compete for an MVP and completely carry a team to a playoff contention. So God knows what is going to happen when they get this team back to be 100% healthy. And then, my team is just – they're going to be a middle-of-the-pack team, so I can't necessarily say that they're going to compete for a Western Conference title. I literally do not see that. We have potential, but I don't know if we're going to be able to do that unless, obviously, we have Luka and KP playing at extremely high levels, and they're playing the majority of the season. So we will see. So, I mean, if I had to put a number on it, I'm probably just going to say the Lakers, which kind of upsets me because I don't necessarily believe that they are going to win the Western Conference. I think that they may fall short, but I will say that they are my favorite to be at the top of the Western Conference come the end of the year just because you do have LeBron James, Anthony Davis, and Russell Westbrook on the same team. LeBron does not have to technically be a ball-dominant person anymore. He can play off the ball, and he can focus mainly on scoring and defense. He doesn't have to worry about distributing the basketball because we all know Russell Westbrook is a very competent and veteran-efficient point guard. I mean, for God's sakes, he's been averaging a triple-double for like what feels to be like 10 years. But we shall see what happens overall. But if there was a team that I had to put as a potential upset, I wouldn't be surprised if Phoenix goes out and do it again.
And that's who I'm siding with. I'm siding with Phoenix on this one. And the reason why I'm picking Phoenix and not LA, Kevin, I think you could probably understand where I'm going to go with this. The Lakers give me a vibe that is very similar to what the Nets had when they brought on Paul Pierce and Kevin Garnett at the later stage of their careers.
Are you
Like,
serious?
the reason why is because a lot of these players that they brought on, meaning the Lakers, are at getting towards the end of their careers.
Oh, yeah.
You look at LeBron James. I believe he's turning 37 in December. Carmelo Anthony is in his mid to late 30s. Russell Westbrook is not at the end of his career, but he has bounced around the league a lot in the last couple of years. And by and large, this team is just very old in regards to the Lakers. And I just believe that issues are going to derail the Lakers season this year. Now, with Phoenix, the reason why I have a little bit more faith in Phoenix is because, A, they're younger. Granted, they do have Chris Paul, who is in his late 30s, but it didn't really stop him last year. He was efficient in the role that they had him, and he was still one of the best ball distributors that the league had to offer last year. I just think that they were so close to winning the NBA Finals last year. They brought their entire core back, which includes CP3, Devin Booker, DeAndre Ayton, Mikal Bridges, and I believe Cameron Payne is back as well. So that's a solid group of guys to roll with. And I would be hard-pressed to pick any other team in the Western Conference other than Phoenix, simply just because I don't have faith that Utah is going to be able to replicate the regular season success that they had and carry it into the playoffs. I just don't believe that they are a NBA Finals contending team. Denver is a team that I kind of thought about a little bit, but I don't believe they get Jamal Murray back until probably midway through the season. So I think they might struggle a little bit. That's where Jokic is really gonna have to step up for the Denver Nuggets kind of early on in the season. The
They got
Clippers,
the GOAT, Michael Porter, though. They signed him to the
oh
big bag.
yeah, okay. I don't know if it's like $180 million, whether he deserves it or not. That's another question for
No,
another day.
205.
Oh, whatever. I mean, Jesus. Good on his agent for getting him that deal. That's all I'll say. The Clippers, I don't know about the Clippers because I don't know what the status is for Kawhi moving forward. I know he had that ACL tear at the end of last year, and I imagine that he's going to be out for at least the first half of the season. So any sort of impact that he makes is going to be probably not until March, like February or March, like somewhere in that time frame. Dallas is very streaky because by and large the entire offense goes through Luka, and unless they get Kristaps Porzingis involved in the offense more, I think it's going to be more of the same for Dallas. I think they'll be kind of like a middle of the pack team, and the same kind of goes with Portland. Portland is very good offensively, but defensively they are, I don't want to say lackadaisical, but they are inept at that part of the court. And I guess I could figure that Golden State is going to be in a much better position than they were last year. I believe that Klay Thompson will come back at some point this season. I just don't know when. But if Steph is able to replicate any sort of success that he had from last year, this team will be in the playoffs this year. I have full faith in that. Granted, they were the 9th seed last year, and they were almost able to get in based on the play-in tournament, but they ended up losing to the Lakers. And not only that, I just think that Golden State is, I think their championship window is done. I really kind of hate to say it. I just think that some of these other teams are just in a better position than they are in. And unless Golden State stays healthy, which the last couple of years they haven't really been that healthy, I just don't think it's in the cards for them this year. So when I look at the entire landscape of the Western Conference, Phoenix is the only one I could really say definitively I have the most faith in. Outside of that, all of these teams kind of have their issues in one way or another. So out of the entire Western Conference, I'm siding with Phoenix in this one.